shut up about AI. Not because it doesn't matter, not because it isn't changing things, well, it clearly is, but because every single conversation about it immediately turns into either a sermon or an exorcism. One side talks about AI like it's the second coming of Christ, the dawn of infinite productivity, infinite creativity, infinite everything. A glorious future where machines finally liberate humanity from effort, thought, and apparently the need to actually make anything ourselves. Meanwhile, the other side talks about it like it's the devil incarnate, a cursed technology that exists purely to destroy art, erase jobs, poison the internet, and personally spit on the concept of human creativity. And I'm tired of both of them. Because the second AI enters the conversation, people stop talking like normal human beings. Nobody wants to talk about what these tools actually do, how they're being used, who benefits, who gets screwed, or what the real consequences might be. Instead, the conversation immediately turns into ideology. You're either preaching the sermon of progress where AI is inevitable and therefore good, or you're performing the exorcism where AI itself is the demon that must be cast out of every creative space on Earth. And both sides, in my opinion, are making the conversation about 10 times dumber than it needs to be. So this video is not gonna be about defending or condemning AI. I just want people to shut up about it long enough to actually form a thought. Let's talk about why the discourse around AI is so unbelievably fucking unbearable. And I think we're far enough into the video now that I can actually say that without the algorithm immediately strangling the video in its crib. So congratulations to both of us. The problem isn't even the technology itself. The problem is that the second the word AI enters the conversation, everyone's brain just shuts off. It's like people stop thinking and start role-playing opinions. Nobody wants to talk about what these tools actually do. Nobody wants to talk about how they're being used, who's making money off of them, who's getting screwed over, what they're good at, what they're terrible at. No. Instead, people pick a team. You're either on Team Tech Messiah, where AI is the inevitable future, and anyone who questions it is a backwards caveman terrified of progress, or you're on Team Digital Satan, where every single use of AI is morally equivalent to kicking a puppy and burning down a museum. And once someone picks their team, the conversation is basically over. It stops being a discussion and turns into a performance. And the best part is that half the people screaming about AI didn't even arrive at their opinions themselves. They borrowed them from whatever YouTuber Twitter thread or 3-hour The Truth About AI video essay they watched last week. You can practically hear it when people talk about it. The same buzzwords, the same dramatic talking points, the same "this will change everything" speeches delivered with the confidence of someone who absolutely did not come up with that thought on their own. It's like everyone downloaded the AI Discourse starter pack and now they're just reciting it at each other. So instead of conversations, we get these weird little ideological rituals where people repeat the same 5 talking points like they're reading from a script. And their nuance dies instantly. If you say AI can be useful in some contexts, congratulations, you're now apparently a Silicon Valley bootlicker who wants to automate every artist out of existence. If you say AI causes real problems, once again, congratulations, you're now a hysterical Luddite who thinks calculators destroyed mathematics. And this is the part that drives me the most insane, because people don't even talk about AI. They talk about this giant imaginary blob called AI, like it's one single thing with one single purpose, as if a language model, an image generator, a recommendation algorithm, and a self-driving car are all the same creature wearing different hats. It's like talking about vehicles and refusing to acknowledge the difference between a bicycle, a forklift, and a fucking aircraft carrier. But nuance requires thinking, and thinking is apparently illegal in this topic. So instead we get the same recycled arguments over and over again. We have the tech evangelists treating every new model like it's the dawn of a new human epoch, and the doomers acting like your phone's autocomplete just declared war on the human soul, and everyone yelling at each other while the actual questions that matter just sit there in the corner completely ignored. Let's focus on one side of the circus for now, the AI evangelists. And I swear, some of these people don't talk about AI like it's a tool, they talk about it like it's the rapture for productivity nerds. Every new model drops and suddenly there's a wave of guys on Twitter and LinkedIn posting things like, "Everything is about to change. This will replace entire industries. If you're not using AI, you're already obsolete." Relax. It's a chatbot and a diffusion model, not the second coming of industrial civilization. But these people treat every incremental improvement like humanity just discovered fire again. A new version comes out and within 10 minutes, someone's already uploaded a video titled something like, "This changes everything." No, it doesn't. If everything changes everything, then nothing actually changed. You're just addicted to hype. And the weirdest part is how quickly these people jump from "this tool is impressive" to "therefore everything about it is good." Speed becomes the only value that matters. Oh, it generated 10,000 images in 30 seconds. Cool. That tells me it's fast. It does not tell me those images are good, meaningful, interesting, or worth existing in the first place. But in the AI hype crowd, quantity has basically replaced quality. If a machine can produce an ocean of outputs instantly, that's automatically revolutionary. Never mind that most of it is mediocre sludge. Never mind that the internet was already drowning in low-effort garbage before AI showed up with a fucking fire hose. But the biggest tell with the pro-AI crowd is that this weird assumption that anything inevitable must therefore be good. You hear this argument constantly. AI is inevitable. Okay, so was spam emails, so were loot boxes, so was every tech company trying to shove ads into literally every surface of your life. Inevitable does not mean beneficial. It just means someone figured out how to monetize it. And the moment you question any of this, the response is always the same smug little script. You can't stop progress, you're afraid of technology, you sound like people who are scared of the internet. No, I'm not scared of technology, I'm scared of tech bros treating every new algorithm like it's a divine mandate for society to reorganize itself around their startup pitch deck. And the funniest part is that a lot of these AI evangelists don't actually care about creativity, art, knowledge, or problem solving. What they care about is leverage. They like AI because it promises the fantasy that one guy with a laptop can replace the work of 10 people. Which sounds amazing right up until you realize that if everyone believes that fantasy, suddenly 9 people don't have jobs. But hey, productivity went up, so clearly that makes it all fine, right? Now let's talk about the anti-AI crowd. And before anyone throws their keyboards at the screen, yes, some of their concerns are completely legitimate, trust me. Companies scraping the entire internet like a raccoon in a dumpster, artists worried about their work being absorbed into training data, and corporations drooling at the idea of replacing workers with cheaper automation. Those are real issues. Unfortunately, a huge portion of anti-AI discourse doesn't stay anywhere near those issues. Because if you spend more than 5 minutes in these spaces, the conversation stops being about labor or ethics and starts sounding like a medieval village discovering electricity and immediately deciding it's witchcraft. To hear some of these people talk, the moment you use AI for literally anything, you've apparently just personally strangled human creativity with your bare hands. You used AI to summarize a long document? Fucking pack it up, that's it! Civilization had a good run. The human intellect has been defeated by a paragraph generator. You used AI to brainstorm something? Fantastic. Imagination is dead, creativity has been assassinated in broad daylight. You generate a stupid meme image? Congratulations once again, you've apparently committed a cultural war crime against every artist who has ever lived. And the dramatic language people use is honestly kind of impressive. Everything is soulless, everything is the death of art, everything is the end of humanity. Meanwhile, the same people saying this are scrolling through TikTok videos filmed in bathrooms and YouTube thumbnails screaming in 4K like that's the sacred temple of human expression we're supposedly protecting. Let's not pretend the internet was some holy sanctuary of artistic purity before AI showed up. The internet has been full of soulless garbage for decades. We had SEO farms pumping out articles like 10 reasons you should drink water, number 7 will shock you. We had content mills paying writers the economic equivalent of spare change to produce thousands of words of lifeless sludge designed purely to please Google's algorithm. We had entire websites dedicated to reposting the same viral content over and over again, like some kind of digital copy-paste sweatshop. The internet was already drowning in slop. Now we have AI slop, which is basically the same garbage, except it's produced faster and with even less dignity. So congrats, we've successfully invented the Industrial Revolution for bullshit. But here's the part that really drives me insane. A lot of the anti-AI crowd talks about the tool itself like it's some malevolent creature. Like one night an algorithm crawled out of a server rack, stretched its legs and said, "Good evening humans, I'm here to destroy art." It didn't! It's software, it just does math, that's it! People built it, people deploy it, people decide how it's used. But instead of talking about companies, incentives, regulation, or who actually benefits from this technology, the discussion turns into this weird moral theater where people scream at the concept of AI like they're trying to exorcise a demon out of their Wi-Fi router. And a huge amount of it is just pure virtue signaling. People rushing to loudly declare how morally pure they are, because they would never touch AI, never, not even once. Meanwhile, they're tweeting that from a phone built with rare earth minerals mined halfway across the planet, hosted on servers burning electricity in data centers the size of shopping malls. But no, the real environmental catastrophe is apparently some guy generating a frog meme. Don't get me wrong, AI systems absolutely use energy. Data centers consume power, that's a real topic. But some people talk about it like asking a chatbot a question is equivalent to personally melting the polar ice caps with a fucking flamethrower. You'll see posts acting like one AI prompt just detonated a coal plant somewhere. Meanwhile, the same people never mention the environmental footprint of streaming video, cryptocurrency, global shipping, or the fact that the entire modern internet runs on giant server farms chewing through electricity like a pack of starving wolves. But AI is the new villain of the week, so suddenly everyone becomes an armchair climate scientist the moment a language model appears. Because outrage is easy. Outrage gets likes. Outrage lets you perform morality in public. And that's the real engine behind a lot of this discourse. Not analysis, not policy discussion, not serious thinking about labor ownership or regulation. Just people performing righteousness on the internet while yelling at a statistical model. And here's the uncomfortable truth a lot of the anti-AI crowd really hates hearing. The internet was already a chaotic, exploitative mess long before machine learning showed up. AI didn't invent those problems. It just poured gasoline on them and lit the match, which is bad. But screaming AI is evil like you're performing a technological exorcism doesn't fix anything. It just turns the whole discussion into a moral panic fueled by people who learned their opinions from YouTube thumbnails and Twitter threads. The moral panics are great if your goal is feeling righteous. They're terrible if your goal is actually understanding what's happening. So instead of talking about power, incentives, labor, ownership, and regulation, we get thousands of people online acting like they're trying to banish a demon from the internet. Like if they yell loudly enough, the algorithm will vanish and will return to some mythical golden age of pure human creativity. Which is adorable, because that golden age mostly exists in people's nostalgia, not in reality. The internet has always been messy, always been commercialized, always been full of garbage. AI didn't invent that. It just made the garbage factory run a hell of a lot faster. So after listening to both of these camps scream at each other for the last few years, I've come to a pretty simple conclusion. Both sides are missing the point. The AI evangelists treated technology like it's destiny, meanwhile the anti-AI crowd treats it like it's a demon. One group is preaching the sermon, the other is performing the exorcism. And somehow both of them manage to avoid talking about the things that actually matter. Because AI is not a messiah, and it's not Satan either. It's a tool. A powerful one, sure, but still a tool. And like every powerful tool humans have ever invented, what actually matters is who controls it, why they control it, and what incentives are driving the way it's used. And right now, the answer to that question should make people a lot more nervous than a chatbot writing mediocre poetry. Because the most powerful AI systems on the planet are being built and controlled by a very small cluster of gigantic technology companies that already dominate huge portions of the internet and the global economy. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, OpenAI backed by Microsoft, and a handful of others. Companies that already control search engines, cloud infrastructure, advertising markets, social media feeds, and enormous chunks of the world's data. And yet somehow the internet has decided that the most important debate we need to have is whether AI art has a soul. The real issue here isn't that a diffusion model can generate a picture of a cat wearing sunglasses. The real issue is that the infrastructure behind these systems is incredibly expensive to build, incredibly expensive to run, and therefore increasingly concentrated in the hands of the largest tech corporations on Earth. And if the last 20 years of the internet have taught us anything, is that giving massive technology companies even more control over the information ecosystem tends to go rather poorly. Because here's the thing about big tech, these companies are not neutral stewards of human progress, they are corporations. Their job is not to improve civilization, their job is to maximize profit. That's not me being cynical, that's literally how corporations work. Which means when they build and deploy AI systems, the guiding principle is not what's best for society, the guiding principle is what generates revenue, growth, and market dominance. That's where the real conversation should be. Not is AI cool, not is AI cringe, but how these incentives shape the way the technology is used. Because companies adopt technology when it lets them do two things: make more money or spend less money. AI promises both. If a company can automate part of a workflow, they cut labor costs. If they can generate content faster, they increase output. If they can analyze more data, they gain strategic advantages over competitors. And when you look at it through that lens, the explosion of AI development suddenly makes a lot more sense. It's not the dawn of digital enlightenment, it's a massive economic race. A race to control the next layer of the internet's infrastructure. Which brings us to the thing that people are actually worried about, even if they don't always articulate it very well. Work. Automation has always scared people for a reason, because historically, automation doesn't politely knock on the door and ask workers if they're comfortable being replaced. Sometimes technology creates new jobs, sometimes it destroys old ones. Usually it does both at the same time. The printing press didn't destroy writing, but it completely changed the economics of publishing. The internet didn't destroy communication, but it wiped out entire industries and created completely new ones. AI is likely going to follow the same pattern. Some jobs will become easier because AI can handle repetitive tasks. Some jobs will shrink because companies realize they can produce the same output with fewer people. And new kinds of work will appear because the technology enables things that weren't possible before. Anyone telling you they know exactly how that balance will play out is either guessing or selling you something. But ignoring the labor implications entirely, like the AI hype crowd often does, is just as stupid as pretending AI is going to magically erase all human creativity. And then there's the issue that honestly scares me a lot more than AI-generated cat pictures. It's the information problem. AI makes generating content dramatically easier. Text, images, video, audio, all of it. Which means the internet, a place that already struggles to separate truth from bullshit, is getting flooded with even more content than it already had before. And the internet was already drowning. We already had misinformation, we already had propaganda, we already had algorithm-driven outrage machines designed to keep people angry. Because Angry people click more ads. And now we're introducing tools that can generate convincing content at a massive scale. That doesn't automatically mean the apocalypse is coming, but it absolutely makes an already fragile information ecosystem more chaotic. That's a problem worth taking seriously. Not because AI is evil, but because the systems we built around information, social media algorithms, engagement-driven platforms, attention economies, were already kind of a dumpster fire. AI just gives those systems more fuel. Which brings me back to why the discourse around AI is so unbelievably stupid. People would rather scream at each other about whether AI is immoral than talk about who owns the infrastructure of the technology. They would rather argue about whether a chatbot can be creative than talk about how AI-generated misinformation could spread through social media ecosystems. They would rather dunk on each other online than think about how automation, corporate incentives, and information systems actually interact. Because that conversation is complicated, and the internet hates complicated. The internet loves tribes. So instead of a real discussion, we get people joining teams, the Team AI Messiah and the Team AI Apocalypse. And then everyone spends the next 6 months yelling at each other while the companies building the technology quietly keep expanding their power and infrastructure in the background. Which, by the way, is incredibly convenient for them. Nothing helps large corporations more than the public being distracted by stupid culture wars. So here's my extremely controversial suggestion. Instead of going at each other's throats over whether AI art is cringe, or whether prompting a chatbot makes you morally impure, maybe, just maybe, people should focus on the things that actually matter. Who controls it, how it's regulated, how workers are protected when industries shift, how misinformation is handled in a world where content generation becomes trivial, how the power of massive technology companies is kept in check. You know, the important stuff. Because right now the loudest parts of the AI debate sound less like a serious conversation about a major technological shift and more like two internet cults throwing tomatoes at each other. And while everyone is busy arguing about whether the machine has a soul, the real decisions about how this technology shapes society are being made by a relatively small number of extremely powerful organizations. Which is probably the thing people should actually be paying attention to. But that conversation requires nuance. It requires thinking. It requires admitting that the world is more complicated than AI good or AI bad. And apparently the moment the letters A and I appear next to each other, half the internet loses the ability to do that. So maybe everyone should shut up about AI for 5 minutes. Stop performing sermons, stop performing exorcisms, and start paying attention to the systems, incentives, and power structures that are actually shaping how this technology gets used. Because those are the things that will determine whether AI ends up helping people or just becoming another extremely powerful tool used by large companies to shovel even more garbage into the internet. And judging by humanity's track record with powerful tools, that outcome is going to depend a lot less on the technology itself and a lot more on whether we stop yelling long enough to pay attention to the shit that actually matters. So after all that, you might be wondering why the conversation around AI becomes such a complete shit show every single time it comes up. And I honestly think it comes down to 3 things. First, fear. A lot of people feel something changing in the economy and they don't fully understand it. Automation has been creeping into more and more industries for years. Software replaces some tasks, new tools change workflows, entire jobs slowly mutate into different ones. AI just made that anxiety suddenly visible. So people react emotionally, some people panic, some people cope by pretending the technology is fake, useless, or immoral. Others cope by convincing themselves it's going to create some kind of utopian future where machines handle everything and humans just vibe. Both reactions are basically psychological defense mechanisms, because uncertainty makes people uncomfortable, and the internet is a place where uncomfortable people turn their feelings into very loud opinions. Second is the hype machine. Tech hype cycles are not new. The internet had one, cryptocurrency had one, the metaverse had one. Now it's AI's turn. Every time a new technology appears, there's an enormous incentive for media companies, venture capitalists, influencers, and tech executives to tell everyone it's the most revolutionary thing in human history. Because hype attracts attention. Attention attracts investment. Investment attracts more hype. And suddenly you've got a feedback loop where every incremental improvement gets reported like humanity just invented fire again. So the public conversation gets warped by people who benefit from exaggerating the technology's importance, which leads to the third problem. The internet rewards outrage, not understanding. Thoughtful discussions don't go viral. Measured analysis doesn't get millions of views. What gets engagement is tribal conflict. Hot takes, dunking on the other side. So the moment AI became a big topic, the internet did what it always does. It turned the discussion into a culture war. Suddenly you're not just talking about technology, you're signaling whether you're pro-progress or anti-tech, pro-artist or pro-corporation, pro-future or pro-tradition. And once that happens, the conversation stops being about reality, it becomes about identity. Which means people stop asking questions like, what are the real risks here? And start asking questions like, which team am I supposed to be on? And once the internet turns something into a team sport, rational discussion is basically dead. And I think part of why this whole conversation drives me so insane is that I'm not watching it from some academic distance. I'm on the same internet as everyone else. I see the same posts, I see the same arguments, I see the same recycled takes getting passed around like a joint at a college party. Every day it's the same cycle. Some guy posts a thread about how AI is going to replace every job on Earth. Another guy posts a thread about how AI is the greatest tool ever invented and anyone who criticizes it is basically afraid of the future. Then a third guy shows up screaming that AI makes you morally bankrupt parasite who personally killed art. And everyone claps for their side, like they just witnessed a heroic battlefield victory. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there looking at the screen thinking, did any of you idiots actually stop for 5 minutes and think about what you're arguing about? Because most of the time it doesn't even feel like people are talking about the same thing. Someone says AI and they mean language models. Someone else says AI and they mean image generators. Then another guy says AI and they mean automation in general. And then everyone proceeds to scream at each other about 3 completely different things like it's the final round of a boxing match. And it's exhausting. Because if you're someone who actually likes technology, but also isn't completely drunk on Silicon Valley marketing, because that's the weird position a lot of normal people are in, you can think AI tools are interesting, you can think they're useful, you can even enjoy playing around with them. And at the same time, you can still look at the way giant corporations are building and deploying these systems and go, yeah, this might turn into a massive clusterfuck. These 2 thoughts can exist at the same time. But good luck expressing that on the internet, because the second you try to have a nuanced opinion about AI discourse, both sides immediately assume you must secretly belong to the other camp. If you criticize big tech hype, you're a Luddite. If you criticize the moral panic, you're a corporate bootlicker. Which means the only acceptable opinions online are the most extreme ones possible. And that's the part that really fucks me up. Because while everyone is busy screaming at each other about whether AI art is morally pure or morally evil, the actual structural issues around this technology keep getting less attention than they deserve. But those conversations are harder, they require thinking, they require nuance, and nuance doesn't trend very well on social media. Anger trends, hot takes trend, calling strangers on the internet retards trends. So instead we get this endless feedback loop of people yelling at each other while the technology keeps moving forward in the background. And the worst part is that I don't even think most people involved in these arguments are acting in bad faith. A lot of them are just scared. Scared their work might become less valuable, scared their skills might get replaced, scared the internet is about to get even more chaotic than it already is. And fear makes people do something humans are extremely good at. It makes them pick sides. Because picking a side feels safer than sitting with uncertainty. It feels good to believe that the machines will save us. It feels good to believe that the machines are evil. Both of these positions give you a clear story, but the truth is a lot messier. And unfortunately, reality doesn't care whether your favorite YouTuber, tech CEO, or Twitter thread told you a neat little story about the future. Reality just keeps unfolding whether we understand it or not. Which is exactly why I think the conversation around AI needs to change. Not disappear, just grow the hell up a little. Because right now, the loudest parts of the debate sound less like serious discussions about a powerful new technology and more like 2 internet cults screaming at each other across a parking lot. And that might be entertaining for a while, but it doesn't actually help anyone understand what's happening. So after all of that, let me explain what I actually mean when I say, shut up about AI. I don't mean we should stop talking about it. Obviously, we should talk about it. It's a powerful technology and it's going to change a lot of things. What I mean is, shut the hell up about the fantasies. Shut the hell up about the prophecies. And shut up about the endless stream of dramatic bullshit where every new model release is either the dawn of machine godhood or the final nail in humanity's coffin. Because right now, the AI conversation is full of people acting like they're in a religious war instead of a technological transition. One side is preaching the sermon, while the other side is performing the exorcism, like I said many times in this video. And both of them are so busy screaming about the machine that they completely ignore the system surrounding it. The companies building it, the incentives driving it, the power structures forming around it. The ways it's going to interact with labor, information, and the internet as a whole. And that's the part that actually fucking matters. Because the biggest question about AI was never, can it make art? The biggest question was always, who owns it? And what the hell they're going to do with it? And right now, while everyone online is busy arguing about AI slop, AI art, AI morality, AI whatever the fuck the discourse is this week, a handful of massive tech companies are quietly building the infrastructure that will shape how this technology gets used for the next decade. And they're not doing it out of kindness of their hearts. They're doing it because there's an absurd amount of money on the line. So maybe instead of tearing each other's throats out on the internet over whether prompting a chatbot makes you a bad person, people should start paying attention to things that actually decide how technology shapes the world. Power, ownership, regulation, labor, information, all that shit. All that boring shit that actually determines whether a tool ends up helping people or just making the internet an even bigger landfill than it already is. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. AI isn't the first powerful technology humans have built. And judging by our history, the real danger isn't the machine becoming too intelligent. The real danger is that we keep building incredibly powerful tools while acting like complete fucking idiots about how they're used. So no, AI is not the second coming, it's not the devil either, and it's just another extremely powerful piece of technology dropped into a world run by profit incentives, attention economies, and an internet that already struggles to tell truth from bullshit. And if that combination doesn't make you stop and think for a second, the problem probably isn't the machine, it's us. And honestly, a species that can't talk about technology without turning it into a screaming match probably isn't ready for the tools it keeps inventing.